Matt Taibbi in Rolling Stone has a terrific article called "Everything is Rigged, the Biggest Price-Fixing Scandal Ever." And he's right about this. Now, first of all, we already know about LIBOR. That's how the banks colluded to fix the interest rates, and several banks have admitted to that and paid combined billions in fines, and there are billions more coming. Now, of course, the reality is they're affecting a $500 trillion market, so a couple of $1 billion in fines are no big deal compared to the money they've already made from it. This is the same story we've heard before, but the new twist is now it looks like the federal investigators might be looking into the London-based firm ICAP, which is the world's largest broker of interest rate swaps. Now, these interest rate swaps are actually very important, especially for local governments. And it sounds complicated, but basically it's how local governments oftentimes finance the projects that they're going to do. They're going to do a new stadium, they're going to do a new sewer system, they might do an interest rate swap. Now, it affects also a huge market. Well, how huge a market? A $379 trillion market. That is 100 times the size of the U.S. federal budget. So if it turns out that they fix that market, they would make a significant amount of money, and as usual, at our expense. So Taibbi explains, at ICAP, the interest rate swap desk and the 19901 screen, which is a technical thing that they use, were reportedly controlled by a small group of 20 or so brokers, some of whom were making millions of dollars. These brokers made so much money for themselves, the unit was nicknamed Treasure Island. You think they don't know it? They know it. They sit around there like a Treasure Island. High five! We fixed this trillions of dollars worth of interest rate swaps and the interest rates through LIBOR, and we make a ton of money. In fact, a yen trader said about the LIBOR fixing, it's just amazing how LIBOR fixing can make you that much money. Of course you can make a lot of money if you fix the markets. And it's amazing that it's about 20 guys or so. Now look, there's not often times conspiracies where 20 guys sit in a cigar-filled room and they go, whoa, let's make up some. But in banking, yeah, there's the major banks, you know, the top 5 or 6 banks in America control about 60% of the gross domestic product. That's an amazing number. So if about 20 guys from those banks and a couple of others international banks get together, they can do some serious damage. And another trader flat out admits there was, quote, pure manipulation going on. Now, the LIBOR we already know about, although there's been, in my estimation and the estimation of the experts, a puny amount of fines, and it hasn't even really touched the American banks yet. The international banks had to pay the fines, of course, right? The American banks are like, well, they're paying fines. We're above the law. So we'll see how it develops, but whatever, usually what they do is they throw a fig leaf on it. They make $100 billion, and then they'll pay a $1.5 billion fine, and they'll go, oh, that was a record fine I paid. What else do you want me to do? But to give you a sense of how ridiculous this was, now, a lot of times the banks, on the one side, they fix the rates, whether it's LIBOR or the interest rate swaps, right? And on the other side, they profit off of that fixing. One side is supposed to set the rates, and the other side makes trade based on those rates. That's how they make the money. And so oftentimes, one side of the bank will talk to the other side. In one case, they fix the rates in exchange for Bollinger champagne. Whoop-de-doo. Another one found in the memos of the banks themselves, the rate was even lower. A Swiss franc trader says, can you put in $6 million Swiss LIBOR in low, please? In other words, make it low, so I'm going to trade based on that. The primary submitter, the guy who sets the rates within the same bank, says, what's it worth? The Swiss franc trader says, I've got some sushi rolls from yesterday. Okay, low 6 million, just for you. Trader, woohoo! That'd be awesome. So apparently that's the price. They're going to make millions of commission off that for a day-old sushi. That's the price we got screwed for in that particular deal. Now, why don't the federal prosecutors ever do anything about it? Well, all the way up from Attorney General Eric Holder, all through the Department of Justice, they've had the same thing, and we've played it for you here on The Young Turks in previous shows. What they always say is, and this is a quote, if we take action against the banks, there might be, quote, collateral consequences. Meaning, now if there's collateral consequences when you do a drone strike and civilians die and kids die, that's fine, that's war, that's what happens. If you prosecute bankers who are guilty, The collateral consequences might be that the bank might not do as well. Oh, no, 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 no. We can't have those collateral consequences. It could affect the economy overall. It could affect how you view politicians that are currently in government. It could affect their donors and the lobbyists. There could be collateral consequences, and we can't have those kind of collateral consequences. So when you ask Michael Greenberg, he's a former director of commodity futures from the Commodities Future Trading Commission, a guy who would know. He says, quote, "There's no therapy like sending those who are used to wearing Gucci shoes to jail. But when the Attorney General says, I don't want to indict people, it's the Wild West. There's no law." That's so true. Now, find a little rubbing it in for you guys. Robert Wise represents the banks, and he goes into court in making arguments that they should not be held responsible for the fixing the rates, the interest rates that affect all of us. Whether you're buying a house, you're getting a loan, your savings, it affects all of us. They're in civil litigation over it. Robert Wise represents the bankers, and he says, quote, "It is essential to our argument that this is not a competitive process. The banks do not compete with one another in the submission of LIBOR." Now, the reason why he says that is, even though the banks have this illusion of competition in the illusion of a free market, when they go to court, they say, "Oh, did you think we were competing? No, 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 this is not anti-competitive action. This is not an oligopoly. This is not breaking the law. Because I'm going to be honest with you, we never competed in the first place." Did you think we were competing? Of course we're not competing. We're all getting together to screw you. They admitted in court, we never compete. That's amazing. Conservatives, what happened to your free market? Here is the attorney for the banks admitting there ain't no free market. The whole thing's fixed. And that's his defense. You should have never expected a free market in the first place. His defense gets even slightly more absurd and amusing. He also says, "The plaintiffs, I believe, are confusing a claim of being perhaps deceived with a claim for harm to competition." In other words, no, they're suing us based on the fact that there was no real competition and we colluded. One, I told you, we never had any competition to begin with. Number two, you're confusing the fact that we lied to you and we robbed you with the fact that we should be having a competition. He's saying it right there. Our confusing claims of perhaps being deceived. In other words, yeah, of course we deceived you. We're the banks. But too bad for you. Ha ha. It's your fault for ever expecting that we were in any degree of competition. They have destroyed the free market. If you're a liberal, you're a conservative, you're a libertarian, if you're an American, if you actually care about our system of government and our economic system, you should be livid over this. And if fixing the interest rates and interest rate swaps markets weren't enough, well, Taibbi also explains, when it comes to fixing, that includes the markets for gold, where prices are set by 5 banks in a LIBOR-ish teleconferencing process that, ironically, was created in part by N.M. Rothschild and Sons. Uh-oh. Here comes Alex Jones. All right. And silver, whose price is set by just 3 banks, as well as benchmark rates in numerous other commodities. Jet fuel, diesel, electric power, coal, you name it. So it turns out, yep, almost all of these different markets are fixed. They're fixed to give tremendous billions of dollars of advantages to the elites who run them and screw the rest of us. And look, it's built into the system. So this is a conspiracy that's out in the open. You see it with your own eyes, the prosecutors see it with their own eyes and refuse to prosecute on it. Now, we can fix this system. This isn't like those 20 guys are somehow controlling the universe, that if you go and do something that they're going to, kill 90% of the people on the planet. They're actually lizard people, all these other crazy conspiracy theories. No, this is the conspiracy, and it's staring right at you, and they pretty much admit it. And there is something we can do about it. We can fight back. The first step is get money out of politics so that they can't easily buy our politicians and our Attorney General and our Justice Department and fix the laws on to their side. If we had a real Justice Department and we threw these guys in jail, all of a sudden, they'd be a little less, willing to fix the markets and to, carry out this conspiracy. There's got to be real consequences. Fix the government first, and then we'll get to these guys second. And believe me, we better hurry, because we got to get to them quick before they rob everything we've got.